Hello students, you are once again welcome to this course, Curriculum Studies in Mathematics Education. We are still looking at Unit 2, Subject Matter in Mathematics. In this session, which is the fourth session, we shall be looking at selection and sequencing of JHS mathematics contents. So the subject matter in the JHS mathematics syllabus, we shall look at the selection and sequencing of them. Let's look at the objectives. By the end of this session, you should be able to achieve three things. 1. Identify the major content areas of the JHS mathematics syllabus. 2. Justify the selection of specific topics in the JHS mathematics syllabus. And finally, justify the sequencing of topics in the JHS mathematics syllabus. In our previous session, we looked at selection and sequencing of subject matter, and then we looked at factors that influence the sequencing of subject matter. The rationale for teaching JHS mathematics curriculum was as stated in the 2012 JHS syllabus, as we looked at in Unit 1. States that all Ghanaian young persons should be able to acquire the mathematical skills, insights, attitudes, and values that they will need to be successful in their chosen careers and daily lives. So this session is based on that, and in this session we shall be looking at the content of the JHS mathematics, the subject matter that we are to treat at the JHS level, how the selection and sequencing of the content, and if possible, we justify why those selection and sequencing were done. So let's look at the subject matter at the JHS level. It is the expectation of the curriculum that students develop strong mathematical competencies at the JHS level, because they will be proceeding to the SHS level, which after some of them go to the world of work and others continue with their education. So we are supposed to develop mathematical competencies at the JHS level. These are necessary requirements for effective study in mathematics, science, and commerce, and other things. So 3 inseparable link components: content, instruction, and assessment. These are the 3 basic linked components: the content, that's the subject matter to be taught; the instruction, the teaching strategies, how you are going to go about them; and then finally you assess your inputs. Emphasis on the development and use of basic mathematical knowledge and skills. So basically, these are the expectation of the mathematics curriculum at the JHS level. Major areas of content. 5 major areas of content are covered in the 2012 JHS mathematics curriculum, as we have looked at already. And we have numbers and numerals. We have looked at this in Unit 1, so I'm just bringing them here as a way of revision. Measures, that, and then problem solving and application. These are the 5 major areas that the content of the JHS mathematics content is all about. The first, numbers and numerals. Let's look at what that content is about. The numbers and numerals basically talks about ways numbers are represented or recorded and the quantities for which they stand. The use of symbols, notation to represent and communicate quantities or numbers. And when we say notations here, we include the decimal system, fractions, and percentages. For example, the number 15% can be written as that 15%, 15 over 100. Fraction, that's in a fraction form, can be written as 0.15 in a decimal form. So we look at the ways numbers are represented and are written, as well as writing numbers in base 2 and base 5. So not only base 10, but how to write numbers in other bases. And then it also talks about rounding numbers to a given significant figures and decimal places. And then writing numerals using standard form. All these things are what numbers and numerals talk about. Then the next one is number operations and algebra. Number operation and algebra. And this one covers the basic operations, that's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division on whole numbers and fractions. So elementary ideas such as ratio, direct and inverse proportion, and common measures of rates are all covered here. Use of scales in practical situations, calculation of average speed, estimation and approximations, use of electronic calculators, and so on and so forth. It also covers the content of algebra, which include algebraic expressions, relations, mapping and diagrams, linear equations, and inequalities in one variable. So all these things are covered under number operations and algebra. The next major content area measures shape and space, and this one covers the use of current units of mass, length, area, volume, capacity. So the students must learn how to use the correct units of the various quantities. Mass, length, mass is measured in what, length is measured in what, area, in that order. It also talks about perimeter and area of simple and compound shapes and volumes of prisms. All these things are under measures. Reading time, which include a 24-hour clock and a 12-hour clock and timetable. So the children should be able to convert from 24-hour clock to 12-hour clock and vice versa. And money, which include using money and converting from one currency to another. Children know how to spend money, but they don't know how to use money. So under measures, shape and space, you have to teach children how to, write money, say money, and use money in that sense. The ability to measure lines and angles, construct triangle and other simple geometrical figures with given conditions, construct angle bisectors and perpendicular bisectors, read and make scale drawings, explain and use geometrical terms. These are some of the content areas under shape and space. And then we look at statistics and probability. The areas covered include specifying a problem, planning and collecting data from various sources, organizing and presenting data, interpreting and discussing results, understanding the fundamental concepts of probability, interpreting and drawing simple inferences from tables and statistical diagrams, constructing and using bar charts, pie charts, pictograms, and so on. All those things are there. You can consult the mathematics syllabus for JHS for details. The last aspect is problem solving, and this one does not talk about any topic in particular, but it is included in almost all the topics, all the 4 other major areas. We have problem solving and application in there. So as teachers, we are expected to pose problems that will make students think and apply scientific principles. The level of difficulty of the content should be within the knowledge and ability of JHS pupils. So when you are selecting and sequencing your listing, you must consider the level of the students. Selected topics for JHS. So the diagram you can see on the screen represents the selected topics for JHS 1, 2, and 3, as we have said earlier. And you can pause the video and look at them critically. This is the continuation. So as we said, 40 units for JHS 1, 40 units for JHS 2, and 7 units for JHS 3. Let's look at justification of sequencing of topics. Why are the topics sequenced that way in the syllabus? So you want to try to justify this sequencing based on the factors that we have learned already. So when we look at table 1, as I've shown you already, it indicates a horizontal sequencing, and we have already explained what we mean by horizontal sequencing. For example, look at numbers and numerals. Sets, fractions are to be taught in that sequence in JHS 1. So horizontal, the same class, the same grade, then you sequence the subject matter, the topics in that order, considering familiarity and prerequisite knowledge. The progression from numbers and numerals to fraction is on a genetic principle basis. And as we have explained what we mean by genetic principle, we look at the historical development of those topics, and then we follow in that particular order. And also on the basis that numbers form prerequisites for the learning of sets of numbers and fractions. So all these things can be looked at. We can justify why the topics are sequenced in that order. They are based on these factors that we have looked at already. And the immediacy of application too, we can justify that based on application of numbers in learning of fractions and sets. So based on that, you see that numbers come before sets. So it's immediacy of what application. In sets, we talk about numbers. So we have to teach numbers before sets. And the algebraic expressions can look at abstract. It can it's a little abstract because at that level they start looking at variables, coefficients and those kind of things, using variables to represent quantities and so on. So it looks like it's abstract. So because of that, you realize that it is the 9th topic for JHS1 and the 8th topic for JHS2 because of its abstractness. Rational numbers coming in JHS2 topic 2 after treating numbers and numerals, decimals. So this is a vertical sequencing. So you can look at that JHS2 topic 2 as what numbers and numerals, fractions, decimals in that order. So you see that we are looking at the grade JHS1, JHS2 in that order. Linear equations and inequalities in JHS2, that's topic 4. After treating algebraic expressions in JHS1, topic 9. So you can also talk of vertical sequencing here. So you see that inequalities, you need algebraic expressions to be able to do linear equations and inequalities. Therefore, you teach algebraic expressions in JHS1 and then teach linear equations in inequalities in JHS2. This is vertical sequence. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. These questions, look at them. When we meet, we shall discuss